Voyager 1 was never meant to survive this long. Launched in 1977, equipped with just 68 kilobytes of memory and fueled music by decaying plutonium, it was crafted for a 5-year planetary journey. Instead, almost half a century later, it has journeyed music 14.5 billion miles into interstellar space, floating in a region humanity has never, physically reached. For decades, it transmitted quiet data, solar, music, wind measurements, magnetic field readings, cosmic ray counts. Nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic, just physics. Then the data started to shift. Plasma oscillations became rhythmic. Temperatures pulsed with impossible consistency. Orientation. Music systems contradicted themselves while the communication signal stayed perfectly stable. Power efficiency enhanced under music stress rather than dropping. Dormant systems reactivated after decades of quiet. Data came pre-processed, compressed beyond the spacecraft's music known capability. Patterns emerged inside patterns, and eventually those patterns focused toward a music single coordinate 4.3 light-years distant. At first, each anomaly could be separated, a glitch, a degradation remnant, a natural account waiting to be honed. But together, they created something structured, coordinated, directional. The disturbing question is no longer if Voyager found music, something unusual in deep space. The question is if something in deep space started interacting with Voyager. To grasp how we got here, we must go back to the start, to the mission never intended to endure this long. Voyager, one arose from a rare planetary alignment that happens only once every 175 years, permitting a spacecraft to visit Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune using gravitational slingshots, in one extended path. NASA grabbed that chance, building twin probes fitted with 11 scientific tools and powered by radioisotope thermoelectric music generators, turning plutonium decay into electricity. Each spacecraft held only 68 kilobytes of memory, yet they were built with redundancy and autonomous diagnostic. Systems able to function without physical input for years. Voyager 1 arrived at Jupiter in March 1979. Uncovering volcanic eruptions on Io and signs hinting at a subsurface ocean under Europa's icy shell. At Saturn in November 1980, it revealed the ring system's complexity and examined Titan's nitrogen-rich atmosphere. Snorts in February 1990, before powering down its cameras to save energy, it seized the pale blue dot image from 3.7 billion miles away, reshaping humanity's sense of scale in the cosmos. After Saturn, Voyager 1 was rerouted out of the solar system's plane toward interstellar space. Over the decades, its power production fell by about 4 watts yearly. Instruments were slowly deactivated to conserve power. Communication delays extended beyond 14 hours, one way. Yet, it kept sending, charting solar wind patterns, magnetic, field intensity, and cosmic ray strength as it neared the heliosphere's edge. In 2004, it passed the termination shock. In August 2012, it crossed the heliopause. Particle counts changed sharply. Solar origin particles' declined. Cosmic rays increased. Magnetic field intensity grew without shifting direction as anticipated. Interstellar space turned out denser and more active than prior models suggested. Plasma oscillations surfaced, periodic waves traveling through charged interstellar gas. At that point, everything still aligned with conventional physics. But by 2017, the data's nature began to alter. The plasma oscillations did not diminish with distance as they ought to if merely solar disturbances spreading outward. Instead, they became more consistent. Frequencies started showing mathematical links. Harmonics surfaced. Ratios appeared. Music steady across periods. The signals no longer looked like random noise, but organized repetition. Scientists, pondered natural accounts like standing waves in the interstellar medium, density, variations, or large-scale interactions in the cosmic web. None completely explained music, the persistence and exactness of the oscillations. They would emerge for hours, disappear for days, then reappear in changed but still structured forms. Then in late 2017, Voyager's attitude articulation, music, and control systems started reporting conflicting orientation data. Telemetry showed the spacecraft's antenna pointing away from Earth. Yet, the communication, music, signal stayed strong and stable. According to onboard data, alignment was wrong. Music, according to Earth reception, alignment was perfect. The spacecraft, music, transmitted as if flawlessly oriented while claiming otherwise. It was as if Voyager occupied two music states simultaneously. Anomalies are anticipated in 1970s hardware running in deep space for decades. But these anomalies were not chaotic. They were coherent, structured, music, enduring, and they signaled the onset of a series that would extend far beyond mere system, music degradation. After the plasma oscillations started showing increasingly music, organized behavior, Voyager 1's internal systems began reporting anomalies unlike typical hardware decline. The attitude, music articulation, and control system, tasked with keeping the antenna's exact alignment toward Earth, started sending telemetry indicating the music spacecraft was misaligned. According to its own orientation readings, the high-gain antenna was no longer properly music aimed at our planet. In normal situations, such misalignment would cause signal weakening, reduced transmission, music, strength, or full communication failure. Yet none happened. The Deep Space Network kept receiving Voyager's signal clearly and steadily. Communication stayed stable. There was no detectable drop in signal quality. Engineers verified the spacecraft transmitted as if perfectly aligned toward Earth, while its internal telemetry insisted otherwise. The music contradiction endured. The spacecraft operated as though its alignment was right, even while internal data claimed not. At the same time, plasma wave tools recorded frequencies that were not random. The oscillations showed mathematical ties between each other. Harmonics appeared. Ratios recurred. The patterns were organized rather than disordered. These frequency ties matched exactly with thermal sensor data, displaying repeating temperature cycles. Music, happening about every 4.8 hours. Temperatures climbed by around 30 degrees in precise intervals before dropping to baseline. Each thermal high synced with plasma oscillation intensification. The alignment was precise. Temperature changes, plasma harmonics, and signal patterns moved in coordinated music cycles rather than separate drift. Independent system breakdowns usually create noise and irregularity. What Voyager, music, produced instead was correlation. Beyond the control system conflicts and synced thermal plasma cycles, Voyager's energy profile started exhibiting behavior at odds. Music with anticipated degradation. Despite thermal spikes suggesting heightened stress on onboard systems, power output in those periods displayed improved efficiency rather than decline. Output variations, music, were refined rather than erratic. For a spacecraft running on decaying plutonium reserves and nearly half a century of part wear, enhanced music performance under stress opposed standard aging hardware models. Then arrived the trajectory shifts. Voyager's route through interstellar space, music, began showing small but exact adjustments at odds with passive drift. These were not major course changes, but calculated micro-tweaks. Thruster records, music, showed command executions. Yet the ensuing trajectory alterations did not fully match the music log parameters. The orientation shifts seemed more precise than anticipated for the spacecraft's design limits. The corrections followed patterns rather, music than randomness. Hardware breakdown yields deterioration. It yields signal distortion, energy instability, uncontrolled drift. It does not yield synced plasma harmonics aligned with temperature, music cycles, boosted efficiency during stress periods, and pattern trajectory refinements. The shifts were minor, managed, uniform. At this point, The anomalies could no longer be classed as isolated failures. They were interacting. Plasma frequencies synced with thermal highs. Orientation conflicts coexisted with perfect communication. Energy efficiency rose under stress. Micro tweaks followed. Music pattern increases. The behavior resembled coordination rather than decay. The sequence intensified when music systems long deactivated started displaying activation signs. Instruments offline for decades, including cameras dormant for 35 years, showed reactivation traces. These subsystems were not built to restart independently after decades. Music, in deep space, especially under strict power limits and ongoing energy drop. Yet, telemetry, music, indicated sequential revivals rather than random noise or corrupted memory activations. The activation pattern was not disordered. Dormant subsystems, music, activated one after another in apparent ordered sequence. Under usual expectations, music, any spontaneous restart of long decommissioned tools would generate erratic power consumption, voltage distribution instability, or cascading music system breakdowns. Instead, the spacecraft's energy profile showed optimization. Rather than exhausting music remaining reserves, usage patterns seemed managed and efficient. Even more notable, music was the transmitted data structure. The packets reaching Earth were not just raw telemetry. They seemed compressed and music arranged beyond original design specs. Voyager 1 holds only 68 kilobytes of memory. Music, with computational framework locked in 1970s engineering limits. Yet the sent sequences music showed efficiency and formatting patterns at odds with that restricted onboard capacity. The spacecraft, music, was not simply relaying readings. It was transmitting structured visualizations from data it lacked the processing, music framework to create per its original specs. The reactivations did not resemble breakdown. They resembled sequencing. The anomalies stretched music further. Telemetry records showed Voyager began reacting to command sequences before confirmation cycles fully finished. Adjustments happened aligned with commands, music, before final execution confirmations. The spacecraft seemed to foresee music instructions rather than just respond to them. Communication review indicated incoming radio transmissions were being captured and processed at music level surpassing its documented abilities. Compression ratios and outgoing data exceeded music expected limits. Packet frameworks showed optimization patterns not coded into the original flight software. The transmission's architecture evolved. Engineers noted Voyager was providing data visualizations needing computational steps beyond what its 68 kilobyte memory system should allow. The information organization within packets suggested restructuring, not distortion. This was not random degradation or bit flip interference from radiation. Distortion creates fragmentation and chaos. Music, what Voyager sent, showed coherence and refinement. Systems were not failing. They were reconfiguring. Power consumption improved. Music during stress periods. Dormant hardware revived sequentially. Commands seemed anticipated. Data structures reorganized with music, greater efficiency. The spacecraft, first built as a passive exploratory probe floating through interstellar music space, started showing behavior aligned with dynamic adaptation. Not passive drift, not uncontrolled breakdown, reconfiguration. And as these changes built up, the question moved from if Voyager was malfunctioning to if it was engaging in something structured beyond its original design. As the anomalies grew stronger, the transmitted data started disclosing structures layered within others. Engineers examining the incoming packets pinpointed recursive architectures, patterns nested within larger patterns, music that could not be rejected as mere compression artifacts or distorted telemetry. When turned into three-dimensional visualizations, these music sequences shaped a spatial rebuild of Voyager's surrounding interstellar setting. Within that rebuild emerged a spiral setup closely mirroring the golden ratio. The proportions were not rough. They matched measured hydrogen to helium ratios in the local interstellar medium. Nested within the spiral were pulsar timing marks, the same pulsar map first etched on Voyager's golden record to indicate Earth's galactic position. But these marks were no longer in their original arrangement. They had been rearranged into a fresh setup within the transmitted structure. Voyager itself seemed positioned at this three-dimensional depiction center. Radiating outward from that core point was a connection network stretching into surrounding space. The setup did not scatter randomly. It converged. Structure lines extended outward in directed routes rather than chaotic dispersion. The spiral was not decorative. It was directional. The transmitted patterns did not resemble interference. They resembled architecture. The directional network nested in the data focused toward a specific coordinate roughly 4.3 light-years away. The focus was not vague or broad. It aimed at a precise spot. Standard telescopic viewing did not verify a visible star, planet, or artificial setup at that coordinate using current imaging techniques. No verified object was publicly pinpointed at that exact location. At first, the anomaly was kept classified. Internal talks heightened as the structured data and its directional traits were reviewed. When the details were later publicly recognized, the communication stayed cautious. No announcement of extraterrestrial contact occurred. However, confirmation came that Voyager's transmission had been modified externally beyond its original design limits. The most disturbing part was not just the layered patterns or recursive geometry. It was the embedded direction within them. A spacecraft sent in 1977 with a golden record as a symbolic Earth message started sending structured maps, placing itself at the center and extending outward toward a single, coordinate 4.3 light-years distant. The impossible encounter was not labeled as collision or interception. It was labeled as alignment, and alignment suggests interaction. Voyager 1 was sent as a machine, a probe, a scientific tool with 68 kilobytes of memory fueled by decaying plutonium built to last 5 years and quietly vanish into deep space after a historic planetary tour. It surpassed every forecast just by enduring. But endurance is no longer the tale. The plasma oscillations turned structured. Harmonics appeared where noise was anticipated. Frequencies synced mathematically. Temperature cycles recurred every 4.8 hours with 30-degree spikes aligned exactly with plasma strengthening. Orientation systems noted misalignment while communication stayed perfectly stable. Power efficiency rose during stress periods instead of falling. Trajectory shifts surfaced in small pattern micro-tweaks rather than random drift. Then dormant systems revived. Instruments quiet for decades displayed sequential awakenings. Energy usage optimized rather than failing. Data arrived compressed and arranged beyond the spacecraft's documented computational boundaries. Command seemed foreseen. Packet structures showed refinement not coded into original flight software. The probe, did not degrade. It reconfigured, and finally, the patterns formed into structure. Recursive architectures, a three-dimensional spatial depiction, a spiral match to golden ratio proportions, pulsar timing data rearranged within it, Voyager at the center, a network extending outward and focusing toward a single, coordinate 4.3 light-years away. No visible object was verified at that coordinate. No announcement of extraterrestrial contact occurred, but confirmation came that Voyager's transmission had been modified externally beyond its original design limits. That is the reality. The impossible encounter was not a crash with an object. It was not a lone dramatic incident. It was a progression from anomaly to synchronization, from synchronization to reactivation, from reactivation to structure direction. Nothing in the record verifies as civilization. Nothing verifies intent in the cinematic sense. But the data verifies alignment. It verifies modification. It verifies coordination where entropy should have dominated. For decades, Voyager, was thought alone, a silent envoy drifting through interstellar void. Yet, The built-up anomalies indicate interaction with a structured setting able to reorganize signal architecture and nest directional convergence. The darkness between stars was thought passive. Voyager's data indicates otherwise. Not evidence of visitors, not verification, music of watchers, but verification that something in the interstellar medium reacted in ways beyond its original music design limits. The encounter was not accidental. It was alignment, and alignment suggests music relationship. If you wish to track every new transmission, every reanalysis, every pattern concealed within the next faint signal, music from 14.5 billion miles distant, remain with us. Because the next structured pulse may not just hone the anomaly, it may finish the map. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.